an advisory committee. And in this next session, we have 3 speakers, and this is moving on to the second part about measuring our value and impact. And we've had 3 experiences and case studies to inform us. I'll introduce each of the speakers just before they're going to speak, but we'll hold questions as a group until the very end. Our third speaker is actually coming in by Skype, so that's our little technology challenge for this session. But first of all, Dr. Eamon Wright will give the first presentation. Eamon is with almost 25 years' experience in university administration. Eamon is currently Corporate Services Manager at Auckland University of Technology Library. Sorry, that should be AUT University Library. I know what happens with university technology libraries, where his management responsibilities include business planning and quality, staff planning and development, communications and business information, and records management. Eamon previously worked at the London School of Economics, where he managed the offices of graduate admissions, teaching quality assurance and review, and official publications. Eamon obtained his bachelor's from Middlesex Polytechnic in 1989 and his PhD from Goldsmiths College, University of London, 1998. His book on late 18th century British women writers and race was published in 2005. That's what it doesn't spend time. Eamon's, the title of Eamon's presentation is Their Value in Impact. Please welcome Eamon.
Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, my parents always said I was too loud. My colleagues say I am too quiet. Perhaps my parents have sensitive ears and my colleagues don't have any. Kia ora, my name is Eamon Wright, and I am not a librarian. I'll put that out there straight away. The introduction of me was very nice, thank you very much. I will now proceed with this. Okay. First, something about AUT, which began in 1895 as a polytechnic, became the 8th university in New Zealand in 2000. Since then, additional campuses have been established with a steady growth of student numbers over the past 16 years. About 70 staff, prestige staff, work across 3 campuses. Who has difficulty counting the number of staff that they actually have? Okay. This is good here. In providing resources and services to our respective users, we probably share a number of common goals and objectives, but we each have specific institutional missions, stakeholders, and a planning regime that reflects the why, what, how our work is done. One such difference for AUT Library is work we've undertaken that we've called Library of the Future. Push that because that's going to go up. Okay, so that was this is the first image, that's okay. AUT is at the University of Technology, and our technology sometimes doesn't work as well. In 2012, the library engaged a co-design consultant who were working with the executive management, scoped out a project, an initiative which is portrayed in this diagram, the consultant didn't take notes, conventional notes. This is the notes. It's been framed by 4 work streams. And today I'll be outlining current and prospective work relating to value. So what follows is a narrative on our thinking, where we're at in terms of use, impact, value of AUT Library. But could you please bear in mind that we've been doing this for 2.5 million minutes, and today I've only got 20 to talk about. As we rethink value, we're very mindful of changes in our business and business skills. We believe there's a greater value in offering services to AUT that are delivered by staff who possess the right capabilities, and we're positioning the library to know better what we need. To a large extent, this is shifting our focus away from traditional library qualification as the main source of expertise, the recruitment of other professionals, IT, HR, marketing, business analysis. New business, and business done in new ways, requires measurements of business performance that cut across capacity and capability. Not least here are changes in scholarly publishing, together with further reorientation of services from physical to online spaces. Some changes are subtle, some are seismic. One change, and perhaps because AUT is so young and we're playing catch up, is the growth of research activities across the university. There is value to us in meeting these demands, but what impact are we having? But first, to begin at the beginning. There are new metrics, so there must be old ones. What are they? Well, put simply, traditional methods are about counting and time. For example, the growth of collections, number of issues and downloads, turnstile counts, number of staff, size of the budget, and various ratios, expenditure of collections. Underpinning this methodology is an assumption that bigger or more actually means better, and that use equals value. In that context, is the metrics KPI dialectic useful? Although often used interchangeably, each actually means something specific. To clarify, business metric, typically a quantifiable measurement used to assess performance for which business environment is important. And a key performance indicator is a measurable value that demonstrates outcomes and results. Now, one way of considering this is to think in terms of big picture, little picture. Metrics are used for measuring performance against objectives in business environments, picture. And indicators, such as KPIs, are used as measures that quantify management goals and objectives, and that's little picture. Let's say AUT Library wants to support teaching and learning at AUT, in picture stuff. And one measurement of that is attendance at information literacy workshops, picture stuff. The library profession continues to debate the merits of its traditional measures of business, toying with alternative methodologies. This conference is testimony to that. So what else might there be? Should we be focusing upon the ways in which the library business activities support university activities and university outcomes, including new metrics, not based upon statistics of user transactions, but upon how users' needs are met. What does this look like? Well, today we have an emerging framework which is about people and engagement practices. There's an interesting gloss here to evaluation, which forefronts an ethical dimension to assessment practices, usefully drawing from appropriate ethnographies. To begin and end with the user is one thing, but upskilling staff in this space is also another, and adds to our growing list of expected new skills and experiences. Where in the library context, new methodologies to achieve an understanding in motivational behaviour and reasoning may be translated into a greater awareness of the impact of assumptions and associated behaviour. A key principle of the Library of the Future is involvement of library users and stakeholders as participants and co-researchers, opening up new conversations through creative partnership and collaborations with students and staff to support teaching, learning and research. At various times and in various ways we have drawn upon participatory action research, design research and design futures methodology. We actually need to better understand users' motivations and perceptions as well as what they did. That emphasis upon ethnography has facilitated a bridging of the digital-physical divide in which input, not just feedback, arising from student projects, including presentations and videos, student diaries on use of physical spaces, persona and user journeys, whiteboarding, usability testing, are some of the ways in which we are working to articulate library value and impact. From regeneration of our web presence, including social media, to engagement on space planning and new conversations with academics about their research, activities, practices and data, have identified some new ways of conducting business activities as well as new business such as support for research. It's also about processes in the context of greater innovation of library services doing more and differently, where customer relations management has exposed limitations of older, simpler methodologies. We are slowly recognising that evaluation goes beyond outputs to measure impact. The library is strategically positioned to offer advice about data management, planning and curation of data. So asking AUT academics about their research activities, practices and data is opening up possibilities for engagement and support. The results from an Ithaca faculty survey have given the library an optic on support services and partner opportunities that researchers need and value. And this is about systems where technology and tools is shifting attention from provision by libraries to consumption by users. This includes platforms for engagement and practices for encompassing users' activities, about measures, performance focusing upon user-centered data activities that illustrate value and impact. But our regime of new metrics should not be about debunking old statistic counts just for the sake of it. My own view is that we should resist an either-or scenario and seek to harmonise the two, becoming smarter at getting the right information to the right people at the right time. For some at AUT, traditional measures will still make sense. And I hear that said on a daily kind of basis. For others, different types of engagement generate different data sets and different conversations. So we need to develop glosses, business metrics, that foreground qualitative transactions and not just quantitative ones. The sea change here is, of course, repositioning our library from being weighed down by its collection to a library anchored in engagement. A few words about capturing activities. A data warehouse is not new, but in the university context, it is relative, and work on warehousing and data connectivity in the UK at Huddersfield and in Australia at Wollongong have been significant. AUT began developing a data warehouse in 2011, pulling data from across the university and adding library data since 2012. Incidentally, when I was last in Sydney attending a similar kind of event to this one, and I rushed back and said, hey, guess what we need to do? And it's sort of a success story. Is using library resources good for students? If you answer yes, how do you know? What does your evidence base look like? Drawing on data from 2014, it may be suggested that those students who utilised hard copy resources compared to those who did not, the value added to course completion was impressive, as this slide indicates. This evidence seems to connect use and impact. And although it's nice to establish that story, well, you must resist overselling it. Other factors need to be taken into account. But the library may be seen as bearing a positive impact upon student success, and we look pretty good. Connection, the content connection and confidence is a common denominator here. Data that goes into the warehouse must firstly reflect as full a range of user activities as possible, data from the use of physical resources, use of e-resources, and we've actually hit a stumbling block on that, data from customer relations activities, such as lending desks, feedback from liaisons, social media analytics, and so on. Secondly, the data that's in the warehouse needs to be linked to other data sources from other parts of the university. And lastly, it needs to be appropriately harvested. So asking the correct strategic questions is a prerequisite. Data mining for many is a new skill in libraries, but arguably is part of the skill set, another that is required. Building library staff capability across a range of technical competencies is very important. To end at the beginning, our intention is to achieve articulation of impact. An answer rests in another question: what comprises impact? Data connectivity is central to understanding that, but connectivity to what purpose? Something else seems to be surfacing here, and that's predictive analytics. I think there's a growing awareness of the need to shift away from figuring out the impact of information literacy on student outcomes to something which is possibly a more exciting terrain, where early alert systems are able to guide intrusive intervention. Put simply, where evidence suggests that students are failing to use library resources effectively or even at all, wraparound services, student services perhaps, should be mobilised to increase student retention and improve academic success. The business modelling already exists in ways that retail and travel join up their thinking around business intelligence. My suggestion is that we adopt and we adapt that thinking. This is very much driven by technology. The digital imprint of students is trackable, indeed traceable. This refocuses efforts from reactive to proactive support. If AUT Library were to suggest a new value proposition today, it should not be based upon the intrinsic value of the library, but upon evidence of its impact arising from a reorientation of its relationship with academics and students. This has been a quick tour, summary of our current thinking in the space of value. Thank you for listening.